Awesome. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the EJ, a live conversation with participants and travel scholarship recipients of Rise Travel Institute's inaugural Experiential Journey to Guatemala. My name is Kathy G., and I lead fundraising and finance at Rise Travel Institute. We're thrilled that you've all joined us today on Giving Tuesday. Please feel free to drop in the chat where you're all coming from. Before we get started with the program, I'd just like to mention a few housekeeping items. First, we're recording this event for those who can't be here, so please keep yourself on mute throughout the event to minimize background noise. For those of you who are here with us on Zoom, a live transcript is available by clicking the closed captioning button at the bottom of your screen. If you have a question or comment during the event, please type it in the chat and our team will respond. You may recall that everyone who RSVP'd was entered into a drawing for a free enrollment to a Rise Travel Institute destination course. All students who joined us on this year's Experiential Journey took our destination course on Conscious Travel in Guatemala, a short format online course that prepared our students for the immersive journey to follow. The winner of this drawing can redeem their gift on the same course on Guatemala and deepen your understanding of some of the topics that we'll be getting into later on during our program, or you can choose to redeem your enrollment on a future destination course. In the pipeline are courses on Bhutan, Bermuda, Costa Rica, and New Zealand, just to name a few. This is a $100 value, and we'll be doing the drawing at the end of the event. You must be present to win, so please stay until the end in order to qualify. I'd like to now introduce Maddie McDonald, Rise Manager of Fundraising and Donor Engagement, to speak about Giving Tuesday and what we're raising funds for today.
Hello, thank you, Kathy, and thank you all for joining us today on Giving Tuesday, a global day of giving. Giving Tuesday was created in 2012 to counteract all the spending of Black Friday and Cyber Monday with philanthropic giving to charities in need of support. It's an opportunity for people around the world to come together through generosity in all its forms by sharing acts of kindness and giving their voice, time, money, goods, and advocacy to support communities and causes. So today on Giving Tuesday, we're raising funds for Rise Travel Institute's Student Tuition Grant and Travel Scholarship Fund. All donations made today will help students with demonstrated financial need enroll in our flagship program or join us on a future experiential journey. There are many ways you can give. You can visit our fundraising page online, or you can text Rise Travel to 53555. And we'll put the links to donate there in the chat. We rely on the generosity of our donors to support our student fund. The more money we raise, the more grants and scholarships we can give away. So please help us make our programs accessible to all by donating today. And just to be clear, you don't need to make a donation in order to win the drawing. So we have some very exciting news, which is that an anonymous donor has offered to match all our gifts made today up to $1,000. So don't wait, make a gift today and you can double our impact. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our Experiential Journey Manager, Jody Suckle, to get the event started. Over to you, Jody.
Hi, everyone. Welcome and thanks for joining us. For those of you who might not be as familiar with Rise, our virtual education courses or our experiential journey, I'd like to give you a brief introduction to the organization and the work that we do. Rise Travel Institute is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to traveler education. We believe in travel as a powerful force for positive transformation, both for traveler and travel destination. Our flagship program is a 10-week long online course that explores different aspects of sustainable travel through structured, rigorous, research-based education. We take a systems thinking approach to address the intersection of social justice, community development, animal protection, environmental sustainability with regards to travel. Students that successfully complete the program and a capstone project receive a certificate in sustainability and anti-oppression in travel. Graduates can apply to join one of our domestic or international experiential journeys, or EJs as we like to call them, to put theory into practice. In addition to the flagship program, we also have short courses about specific destinations and sustainable topics, as well as a course designed for educators. This year, we held our very first experiential journey and took 6 RISE alumni to Guatemala to explore the themes in sustainable travel in more depth. I'll leave it to our students to talk more about the journey in a bit, but before we begin, set the stage for our main event today, Beyond EJ, we'd like to share an episode from the Go Explore series with Davy Sutton, who joined us in Guatemala this August. In this short video, Davy introduces Guatemala as a destination and follows the journey our students took on RISE Travel Institute's first ever experiential journey.
Jody, there's no sound.
I am not playing that video.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Could you not hear that?
No,
Okay,
yeah.
let's try again.
Located in Central America, Guatemala is known for its hilly terrain because of its volcanic landscape, including the active Volcán de Fuego, which erupts approximately every 20 minutes and has been doing so for the past 500 years. And deep into the tropical forest are ancient Mayan cities, including Tikal, which was once the capital and one of the most powerful kingdoms of the ancient Maya. But Mayan history doesn't just live in the past, despite the attempts of erasure at the hands of colonial-era invaders. At almost every corner of the country, you'll find living culture through modern Mayans who seamlessly fuse traditions of the past with their lifestyles of today.
Guatemala is also known as the land of eternal spring because it basically has perfect weather all year round. But let's be real. Guatemala hasn't always been the dream destination that's top of the traveler's bucket list.
Well, a lot of people find Guatemala to be kind of a dangerous place. You know, obviously we have a reputation. We are a developing country. Things definitely don't function here like they do in Europe or they do in the United States.
With limited flights to the international airport in Guatemala City and expensive, sometimes unreliable ground transportation, leisure travelers may find a trip to Guatemala a more challenging journey. So a visit here may be better suited to the intrepid traveler. And once you arrive, you can expect to be thrown right into Guatemalan culture.
So many cool stuff going on around here. We do offer different ranges of accommodation, of restaurants, of services in general. You can go from budget, basic to high-end and super luxurious.
But the reason why so many perceive Guatemala as dangerous is because the Civil War ended not too long ago, in 1996, after more than 36 years.
We can see the consequences still today. This is actually the period that sparked the migration influx that we have to the United States.
Our tour guide, Sophia, further explains that the migrants who are leaving Guatemala for the U.S. today are doing so for better job and lifestyle opportunities. But as a veteran tourism professional, she is passionate about these same opportunities within her homeland. And her company, Etnica Travel, helps facilitate that through community tourism.
If you engage in a community tourism experience, for example, a cooking class, and they pick you up at your hotel, there is a huge chance that the driver is going to be from the community where you're going to travel. That means that where you're going to take the experience, probably the ingredients of what you're learning to prepare are going to be sourced there. So it becomes a web, you know.
And authentic, immersive cultural experiences are easy to access in Guatemala, especially when you use local guides.
I'm a tour guide, and I really love what I do because I love to show people about my country and about my culture, my traditions here.
From exploring the UNESCO World Heritage Center of Antigua, the former capital city, which is known for its Baroque architecture and cobblestone streets, to the jaw-dropping Lake Atitlan, where you can take a guided hike through the cloud forest on one of the volcanoes in the village of Santiago.
1 minute it's sunny, and then the next you can see the fast-moving clouds right behind me, moving so fast up the mountain, and now we're covered in the cloud.
RISE Travel Institute offers travelers education and experiential journeys like this one to practice responsible travel.
Responsible travel is a way of travel where travelers do their best to minimize their harm and maximize their benefits to the local communities, nature, and the biodiversity of the places they visit.
So many of us wake up every day to prepare a cup of coffee, but so many of us don't think about where it comes from. On this experiential journey with RISE, we deepened our understanding by taking a tour of a coffee farm in the mountains next to an active volcano with the local Guatemalan farmer. Guatemalan textiles are world famous for their intricate designs. We visited community tourism projects where we learned the stories of survival, feminism, and resistance to oppression through the weaving techniques by Indigenous women. I did a homestay with a rural Guatemalan family where we cooked together, played card games, and shared stories about our lives, which are literally worlds apart. Being able to slow down and connect was the perfect culture sharing opportunity. Visiting Guatemala can be a bit daunting, but the reward is authentic connections with locals and access to off-the-beaten-path adventures and lasting memories of an unforgettable journey.
Ah, humbug. My signal is totally ghosting me.
'Tis the season to...
Thanks for that. I think all of us who went on the EJ would love to be back in Guatemala right now, and that video made us really miss it. So now I'd like to chat with, yes, Kristen, you should definitely go to Guatemala. Highly recommend it. So now let's chat with some of our program alum. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. Emily, do you want to start?
Sure, I'm happy to. So my name is Emily Ehrman. I'm an alumni from the what was previously known as the Spring Flagship Program. So I started just under a year ago, if I'm remembering correctly. I'm currently based in Phoenix, Arizona right now. I'm in graduate school right now, and I was able to receive not only a scholarship for the flagship course, but also for the experiential journey. So I feel really, really fortunate to have gotten to know people from RISE. I feel so fortunate. I can't wait to talk about this with Thomas. So I'll let him go ahead and introduce himself as well.
Yeah, thanks. My name is Thomas Kalchik. I am calling from Colombia. I have been involved with RISE for a little over 2 years now, since the beginning, and have loved every minute of it. The scholarship has really been, I can't thank RISE enough for this scholarship. In fact, I mean, this wouldn't have been possible for me without it. So super happy to be here and chat with everyone about it as well.
Thanks, both of you. Let's start with the really fun stuff. Can you each tell me your favorite part of the trip and maybe a funny memory?
Yeah, so I mean, it's so hard to nail down one favorite part. Even just watching that video, I was like, oh yeah, or like just so many things to nail down. So for me, I kind of have a couple, just such a variety of the different types of cultural experiences that we had, whether it was making gum from tree sap or learning about it at least, and learning the cultural significance and the backstory behind why they do that, and obviously learning how to do it, to learning about the weaving of the cloth, and then all the way down to getting stuck on the side of the road and a local van of locals jumps out without any prompt to push us out of the mud. I mean, it was just the most diverse set of experiences that we had that really was extremely impactful for me to learn about the backstory behind their culture and then see the generosity firsthand of the people along the entire step. So it really was extremely impactful there.
Emily?
Yeah, similarly to Thomas, I think I keep going from one memory to the next and thinking, well, is that my funniest or most impactful, or can it be both? Can it be a little bit of other things as well, challenging or thoughtful? And I think there were so many moments that were such a unique combination of all of those feelings and monuments. So that's really special about this trip. But I'm thinking back to a time in Davey's video, you saw it was mentioned we did a homestay. And right before we actually went to our homestay houses, we sat and learned about some weaving techniques and then about some
troubles of Zoom.
even less of the group. Yeah, maybe even less of the group. Oh,
sorry, you cut off for a second there. We missed your story.
Oh, okay. I was just saying, I'm not sure where you heard me last, but I was just saying, before we went to our homestay house, we were in a situation where we were learning about weaving traditions and also traditional Guatemalan wedding traditions. And we were reenacting these traditional Guatemalan weddings. And it was something that, maybe half of our group or less than half of our group spoke Spanish. So we weren't really sure what we were getting into, but we were all kind of pulled into that moment of, we have no idea what is going on, but we're learning as we're doing this, so who's the mother and father, who's getting married, we're not sure, but we got to see this moment and laugh with these people who, there were plenty of communication issues, and same goes for when I go to my homestay, but we were all just having fun together and connecting over being together in a space together, which could not have happened if we wouldn't have been afforded that opportunity to go to Guatemala. We're getting to the most impactful moment later on, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, good. So I would say for the funniest moment, that was just really a moment where it felt like I was surrounded by belly laughs, not just the people who were on the trip, but people who were welcoming us into their home and their space. All of us were just laughing together, and it felt really special.
Yeah, Vinci and I did our homestay together, and neither of us speak Spanish very well, and our homestay family didn't speak English, and I don't remember the last time I laughed that hard over nothing important. And we were still able to have a conversation, a slow, stilted conversation, but we were still able to bond, and it was just so wonderful. And I've been telling my students that homestays are amazing. They should all be really excited about them. So
yeah, I mean, that's something that I wanted to mention as well with the homestay. I mean, that's one of the most impactful, like to be immersed into a local home and just completely have to communicate and just enjoy the time together. I mean, I personally had such a nice time just chatting with the family. In the morning, I went to mass with the husband of the family, and we just had such an amazing time. But even that same day, kind of going off of like funniness, is when the whole group did the wedding ceremony together. I think what was so beneficial from that is just, let's say without having this well-developed itinerary that we were lucky to have, if somebody were to do that, they might just think, okay, we're wearing some costumes and just having a good time. But to have these women teaching us why we're wearing what we're wearing, and having already known why it's made that way, why it's that design, and why you're walking this way, and why the female is hitting the guy over the head with a bowl. I think that was part of the story, the significance of it. Or no, she had to knock it off of, the guy had to knock it off of her head, I think. But the significance behind knowing of what all that means was probably the most, some of the most impactful things. And that story goes to like a lot of the activities that we did. Everything was taught to us, how it got started and why they do it that way. And I think that's something that you don't get if you don't have if you don't have the proper preparation before a trip.
Yeah. Speaking of proper preparation, can you each talk a little bit about how you think your experiential journey sort of enhanced what you learned on the flagship, and how participating in the flagship influenced your time on your experiential journey?
Yeah, Emily, do you want to start here?
Sure, I can start this one. So I was thinking about this earlier. I think not only being able to experience the experiential journey so close to when I had finished the flagship program. It was maybe 2 months in between. So this was very fresh in my head, and I was really tossing around a lot of the ideas that I had learned in the course. But I think another added benefit was everybody that we went on this journey with had also taken this course or had some sort of background in sustainable travel, and being around people with such similar mindsets for a specific trip like this is extraordinary. It's something that you can find so rarely. If you're into group travel, the chances of everybody having similar mindsets or similar wants for that particular trip, or goals of what they'd like to take away from the trip, it's very unlikely that they all align. And so this felt so special. This felt so unique and extraordinary, and that it was almost like I was finding people were finishing my sentences in a really incredible way, because that's exactly what I was thinking, or they would say something that I had completely passed over. It hadn't come to me yet, and they would really open up my mind to something new. So I think that not only was it a great lead in from the course, it also brought me in to be surrounded by people who felt or thought or wanted the same as me.
Yeah, and that was super special, the fact that you're traveling with a group of people that has a similar mindset, and even if certain mindset points might be different, your learning behind it is all there. We all had the same education through RISE and through the destination course. And so and what I would mention is that Vinci and RISE really did a great job. I remember, I'm thinking about the first night when we played your game, Vinci, and the game developed around having people that travel from different places have topics to talk about. And I couldn't help but remember the peanut butter. And to be honest, I don't even remember I feel like peanut butter came up in a couple different ways, but I just remember laughing anytime peanut butter came up. So yeah, definitely that was super impactful there. But what I would say more specifically about the destination course is it just did such a good job of preparing us for what to expect, whether it's cultural things like who to tip and who not to tip. Those are things that maybe I don't think of very often, and it's just way areas to think of, like, be cautious if you're doing this sort of activity, like if you're at an ATM in this location, or these areas are safe, or it was just fantastic. And the fact that we were able to have the creator of that course be our guide in the location, I think was just the cherry on top. It was truly spectacular.
Yeah. I love being able to learn something in a class or read something online and then go to a place and say, oh, okay, I get it now. And I really think that's what the EJ does. You say, we could talk about how important community tourism is all day, but then when you go to a community and you see how your being there, your tourism dollars done right are really supporting the community and helping them continue with their culture, is really brings it home and shows you that we're not just talking, it's not nonsense, it really is impactful, it really does matter.
Yeah, and I think it's super impactful knowing that you're making an impact. I could probably have done some of those activities before, maybe if I just traveled there on my own and signed up for a couple activities and thought I had a good time. But knowing that we did some of these things and we had an impact on them, and vice versa, it had an impact on me, really made it that much more important. It made it sink in that much more and that much more memorable.
And it's so much easier to explain it to other people now. I have a firm, why do I need to travel this way? Well, I can tell you about this time that I did it. And I saw how it was important for the tourism dollars to stay in the community and how the community benefited, and how it's so much better than doing a prepaid tour through a multinational corporation or whatever the case may be. Yeah. So now I can go forth and educate more people too.
Absolutely. And I get so much joy out of telling people the stories. I have on the centerpiece on my table, I have one of the cloths that the women made from the school. And every time someone comes in that hasn't seen it, I tell them the story. I move the plant that's on it and I say, look at this symbol. This signifies this. This signifies this. And it's double-sided. And, this is how they weave it. And I tell them the whole story. And that's something that I wouldn't have known if I just, bought something from a gift shop.
Mm-hmm, definitely. So You talked briefly about the destination course, Thomas. Emily, what are your thoughts on the destination course? How did it help you prepare? Why do you think it's so useful?
Personally, for me, whenever I'm traveling, I do try to do some research on wherever I'm going, that whatever the destination is. But I'm not sure if you guys have experienced this, but oftentimes if you look on YouTube or something, it's coming from the perspective of an influencer, or it's coming from the perspective of somebody who this was their first time and they gathered everything from Google before they went there. I mean, maybe that's not always the case. Maybe I'm just not doing the right research, but this was really, really special because it was coming not only from Guatemalans, but from the owners of the company that we traveled with, that Rise paired up with. And nobody can give you insight into a place like that unless they've been there, they've grown up there, their heart is there, and they truly want not only to improve Guatemala in terms of like livelihood for people, but also they want to welcome foreigners to come and do those simultaneously. You can do, you can do one, and you can really want tourism and travelers to come and spend money. And you can also care about the people of your own country, but doing those together is really, really incredible. And learning about people who have that intention in mind completely shapes that educational message. And it's unbiased. It's giving a very honest and experienced view of the place that they love and they live. It was really, really special. And there are lots of different facets to it as well. So there were some things that maybe I learned in that video and they didn't come up again, but there were some things that would come up during the trip and I would say, oh, wait, I remember learning about this, and we would dive in deeper, and it like solidified that memory. It cemented the impact of that piece of information even more.
Yeah, I lived in Guatemala for 6 months, and I felt a little guilty when I when I took the destination course and realized that there were things that I didn't know after spending so much time in a place, and I still didn't know as much about the people in the place where I was living as I thought I did. So even if you're, if you're not new to a place, you can still learn. You can still, you could go to Guatemala 6 times and on the 7th time have an amazing experience that you never would have expected. So it's definitely not just for first timers, I think. And I'm excited to see how the courses grow as we, as Kathy mentioned, there are so many new ones that are coming up. So I'm excited to learn more about
destinations sounds so cool. I'm so excited for Bhutan. I'm really, really interested in it. So
yeah, so that's exciting, something to look forward to. Can you both tell me a little bit about how the experiential journey specifically, and also the flagship program, have impacted your thoughts on future travel, about trips that you take without Rise? Obviously they won't be nearly as much fun, but how has this impacted your view on travel in general?
Yeah, I think that there's really just a lot of potential, a lot of room for, society in general to kind of do things a little bit differently, just be more intentional with the way that we travel. Proper preparation, make sure your activities during your trip are actually done with intention, with the proper intention of learning and expanding your own growth, to make sure your impact goes both ways. So the way it's changing my point of view for travel is really just, I got to act with intention. I got to be conscious when I'm traveling. Yeah.
For me, it's really been something I've been able to apply to my entire lifestyle as well. So it's not just about traveling internationally for me. So as I mentioned, I live in Arizona right now. I live in Phoenix, and especially up north, like Sedona and Flagstaff, those are very touristy areas, and they're very beautiful areas that I would recommend anyone go to if you like outdoor things. But even when you think of what you're spending your money on when you are traveling to places nearby you, or even around home, it doesn't really have to be travel. It could be in your hometown. It really makes you think. Sometimes it's so easy to make a purchase and you have, sorry, my cat is meowing, but you have what you need, and anything that comes from after that, it's not always natural to think past that. So for example, one of the activities that we did, Davey mentioned it, when we went to the coffee farm and we were with Froilan, who was guiding us through his coffee fields and teaching us the process literally from start to finish. And as avid of a coffee drinker as I am and my partner is, we had no idea that this is how it went. And we walked away with each of us with a bag of coffee from the co-op that Froilan worked with. And we've since ordered multiple times. It's our favorite coffee. And this is something to us where this means enough to us that we're willing to spend extra time and maybe go for a little inconvenience, because now we know who this is benefiting. And now we know the work that goes into producing just this simple bag of coffee, because it's crazy. And this can be applied to anything, not necessarily coffee, but anything you purchase, really thinking about where it comes from and the longer impact of this. I think it's easy to see when you travel. It's not as easy to see when you're at home, but it's valid and it's worth it.
Yeah, definitely. For anyone interested, Guatemalan coffee is some of the best. De la Gente, there's a link in the chat if you're interested in checking it out. It was one of my favorite things that we did, definitely. I went on a work trip. I work and study abroad, and we did a site visit just a few weeks before our experiential journey. And I spent most of the time comparing the decisions that our program organizers made on that trip and the decisions we were making for our RISE EJ, and thinking about, oh, I would have done this differently to make it more sustainable, or I would have considered this thing to make it more impactful or mindful. So it's definitely impacting the way that I work and I plan trips for my students. So hopefully we can keep moving forward with making it more impactful and more responsible. One last question I have for you, and then maybe we can take questions, or if there's anything else you guys want to share, but can you talk a little bit about the scholarship? I know, obviously a scholarship is always really useful, but talk a little bit about, why it was so valuable and whatever you think we should know about this opportunity.
Yeah, for me, it was just valuable, kind of echoing what I was previously saying, just to really drive that understanding or that realization that there is so much work to be done, that traveling can have such an impactful experience for the traveler and for the community that you're in. So for me, the scholarship allowed me to see that in person. I think a lot of things are easy to maybe just learn about or hear about, but until you're able to really put it into play in your real life, or in real life, then sometimes the messages can get lost. So to be able to see it in person was how it impacted me most.
Yeah, the same for me. I mentioned that both my flagship course and the experiential journey were part of scholarships for me, which, that increases the value even more. It's enormous. I can't even begin to imagine how I would have been able to participate in either of those. So, I feel extra fortunate in that way. And I think in terms of the scholarship for the experiential journey, I had never, as I mentioned before, I had never traveled with people who had this similar mindset as I did. I don't know if it's like the RISE mindset, or I don't know what we want to call it, because I think it manifests differently in every person, why they do it, what has brought them to that mindset, and what how they act upon that. But being around people with such similar mindsets was incredible. And I think that it was all through the RISE channel, the RISE pathway that we all came to meet each other. And even something like meeting Thomas. I never would have met Thomas if neither of us would have been afforded the scholarship and we couldn't have gone on that experiential journey together. So it's many, many layers to how it has been impactful and beneficial. And I want to reiterate how thankful I am for that, really.
Yeah, same here. Extremely thankful.
Thanks. One question that I meant to ask at the beginning and I forgot, is, I know we're talking about the experiential journey, but you can't talk about the experiential journey without talking about the flagship program. How did you both come to RISE and the flagship program, and what made you decide to start that?
Yeah, so I found RISE during the COVID shutdown, essentially, and started volunteering with them, and was able to take the course, and it honestly, it blew my mind. It made me want to stick around, and it's, you know, partly why I'm still here, is because it's so impactful, and it has such great meaning. And I think it can work wonders for a lot of organizations, a lot of individuals, and it really has, you know, to me, it's a powerhouse in the industry. So
I found Rise, I think it was through LinkedIn, and I was actually looking for work or internship. You know, I'm studying global management, but my focuses are on sustainability solutions and sustainable travel. So some sort of keyword brought it to me, and I was looking at the website, and I looked at the different headlines of the courses, and I was thinking, this is what I want. This is what I want to know. These are the type of people that I want to be learning from. And I reached out, I don't know if it was to Jody or to Vinci, but they emailed me back directly. And, you know, I also had explained my situation, and I said, you know, I'm so interested in this. This is what I'm studying professionally, but it's a whole different aspect when it's on a more personal level. So I reached out, and they reached back out to me and let me know that this was an opportunity we could pursue together. And it was, that was it. That was, you know, I'm also still around. So I don't know. I almost feel like Rise and I found each other. I'm not sure. Something was meant to be that day.
Yeah, the people at Rise are definitely a big selling point.
Yeah, I like what you said about how when you saw it, you're like, I want to be associated with those people. I felt the same way. I was like, I want to be part of this.
They seem really cool.
Yeah, the plethora of people is like so unique. Everybody has such a different background. Their professional background, their personal background, where they're living, where they're from, what they're doing now, where they have traveled, where they want to. The way that, you know, there's so many different layers and such a unique combination. I think actually when I was leaving a review, I said, like, the experience that comes from the people of Rise is really what makes it, because, you know, as phenomenal as Vinci is, she couldn't do this as one woman. You know, that would be so much to expect of her. But it's, yeah, we are a very diverse team, but everyone has the same mind and the same goals in mind, and that's what makes it. So
Really. I'm going to ask you one more question. So we've been talking about the impact that we had, that we, you know, what we learned and what we got out of the program. Do you have a sense of what the communities that we visit, how the communities that we visited were impacted by our being there, how they are, you know, why is community tourism important to the communities that are being visited? Did you have a sense of that, or just through taking the program? Like, what are your thoughts there?
I think with the homestays is what sticks out in my mind, to really just have that one-on-one time, getting to know them, sharing our experiences. I talk about where I come from and my family and the types of things that we do, and I see firsthand their lives. I think I still do keep in touch with the host family, and they have been very, you know, I don't know the exact impact firsthand to them, but they're very appreciative of our relationship and in our friendship. I was able to bring them a gift, and they actually surprised me with something, and it was super impactful. So I think being able to have this intimate interactions with the family and with the other events and exhibits that we did, I think being able to learn from each other.
yeah, I agree with that. And I'm also thinking two things. First, I'm thinking about Benji, who was our photographer and videographer in the group, and Thomas and Benji got very, very close during the trip, and it was so amazing to see. I was always a little bit jealous because they would chitter chatter back and forth to each other. I had no clue what they were saying, but they both had the biggest smile on their face and had so much fun. And, you know, they had just met each other. It was a short 10-day trip, but it was, you know, there are some people that just really click, and culture, language, country, origin doesn't matter. That, you know, surpasses that. And additionally, I'm also thinking about the people who like we took tours from, for example, you know, even when we were in Tikal, or, you know, Danny with the woman with the maroon mask in the video who had given us a tour. the market, from remembering correctly. But even people like that, I think being able to interact with people who are genuinely interested in what they do, genuinely interested in their country, in their culture, and their experience, I think that encourages them to keep doing what they're doing, because it is impactful. You know, I'm sure there are times when it's frustrating. Danny was also saying she kind of had to take a break during COVID. And I'm sure that's very, very challenging when that's your livelihood and this is what you love to do and this is what you know how to do. So I think interacting with people like us who are encouraging of that and asking questions, and we want to know more in-depth details about your culture or your history or even your family. You know, she told a story about her grandma. There are just so many little things where I think having a way to express yourself as someone who loves what you do in the tourism industry and loves being an impactful tourism professional, I think that is impactful in the community. And I think that webs out. Another thing I'm thinking, there was someone who had an apprentice and was following Giving Tours, and I think he said he was 14 or 15. And it's so incredible to bring young people into the tourism industry as well, and under such an impactful umbrella as well. You know, the way that they're learning tourism is people are coming and asking questions, and they're paying the people who are actually doing the work or the people who are from that place, and just creating a web of impactful, sustainable, ethical tourism.
Yeah, it's really wonderful when you can tell that people are really passionate about their culture and their home, and they genuinely want to share that with outsiders. They genuinely want to share their culture and their history and their home with the people who are visiting. So when we can repay that with being responsible and, you know, paying locals and keeping the money in the community, it just goes in a circle of positive impact. So that's what I took away from it as well.
Yeah, I know a lot of the tour leaders and guides were super appreciative once they realized what our group kind of represented in terms of wanting to learn more about them in a responsible way, and wanting to make an impact and wanting to support their efforts. We're not just there to see a show, we're there to actually understand it, and they appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much, both of you, Emily and Thomas, for chatting with us and sharing your experiences and your insight into why the experiential journey is so great and why everyone should do it. And we are working on, you know, future experiential journeys, so keep an eye out for those. If you are really jealous of our trip to Guatemala, stay tuned for the next one. And with that final thank you, I will pass it back over to Maddie.
Thank you, Jody, Thomas, and Emily, for such an interesting conversation. I hope y'all are feeling as inspired as I am. As they mentioned, Thomas and Emily's journeys with RISE were made possible by our student tuition grant and travel scholarship fund. It's amazing to see the impact that our travel scholarships have had on our students. So if you haven't given yet, please take a moment right now to make a gift to support more students in accessing our programs in sustainable travel. And don't forget, all gifts today are being matched by an anonymous donor, so your donation has twice the impact. While you are making your donations, I'm going to hand it back to Kathy to do the drawing for a free enrollment to a RISE destination course.
Thank you, Maddie. So as you all were joining the event today, I've been putting names into my virtual hat. I've just drawn a ticket out of the hat, and our lucky winner today is Carolyn Manley. So yay, Carolyn.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome. Please don't go anywhere. We're going to collect your contact info and reach out to you after the event with instructions on how to register for your RISE destination course. Okay, we've come to the official end of the event. Thank you so much to Jody, Thomas, and Emily for a great conversation. Thank you to Maddie, and thank you to everyone who donated on this Giving Tuesday. Again, all donations today support our student tuition grant and travel scholarship fund, allowing more students like Thomas and Emily to learn with us and transform the way they see travel. If there's a travel lover in your life who you think would benefit from sustainable travel education, please also consider gifting a RISE course this holiday season. Gift courses can be purchased from our website, and the link is in the chat. So if you enjoyed this event and wish to join more meaningful events like this one, please stay tuned for updates on Rise Travel Institute's website, our newsletter, and social media. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.